The first thing you should know about my friend Andrew is that he goes by Nwanda on his social media accounts. I know it's an allusion to the Robin Williams classic The Dead Poets Society, but I can barely recall the movie. Some cursory internet research reminds me that Charlie Nwanda Dalton is a disobedient, defiant student dedicated to rebellion and nonconformity. He gets expelled in the end, however, for his blind and bullheaded loyalty to his English teacher. Huh. The next thing you should know about Andrew is that I've never asked him about it. Facebook announced this week that he and I became friends 7 years ago, just after he graduated high school and I left teaching. I don't know why his 18-year-old self was called Nwanda, but I can guess. It's funny that we've never discussed it, but I'm counting on that loyalty, son.
The first thing you should know about my friend Mrs. Filholm is that she and I are alike in that we don't much care for pets. For me, it's simple. I'm allergic to all things, especially pets. This includes the 2 black labs that I grew up with and Whiskers, who I live with now. Mrs. Filholm doesn't have pet allergies, but she did grow up with an agricultural relationship to animals, who are chiefly responsible for producing meat, milk, wool, and aiding farmers and ranchers in their work. The next thing you should know is that Mrs. Filholm's heart is not made of stone. Even though she would jokingly remind her misbehaving family dog that he better shape up because a bullet only costs 25 cents, she never meant it, and she cared for that dog every damn day. Now that Mrs. Filholm is on her own, people suggest that she adopt a dog for protection and for companionship. Personally, I don't see it happening, but who knows? Mrs. Filholm's a wild card and anything could happen. Welcome to Half My Age, a weekly show in which a 25-year-old adult and a 50-year-old child help each other make sense of the world.
Yeah, okay. First of all, you actually just put into that open a punchline that gets me in the most trouble when I do comedy. A bullet costs 25 cents is the most offensive thing I say.
I love that.
Know.
That makes me so happy.
You do. And I do a whole bit about it, and it's all very funny and goofy, but it basically your cold open was just the set. I don't think you've heard of that set, have you? It's literally, I do 3 minutes on how much I hate dogs because they get away with murder.
Well, I hate dogs in general. So that is one of the reasons we are friends.
Yep, that's right. We have that in common. All right, I want to talk about that. All right. Well, did you see on my Instagram that a little cat came and visited me?
I did see, and that's what made me write that.
It was so weird.
It's so funny because I'm now learning about your Instagram posts through my mother because I'm spending less and less time on it, and she's spending more and more time on it. And she says, "Oh, did you see that Mrs. Filholm adopted a cat?"
I did not.
And I said, "No, that's Delaney's mother. Delaney's mom adopted the cat. It was like a stray cat in her neighborhood, and she took it in." She said, "No, I saw this morning. Mrs. Filholm's adopting a cat."
I really am not adopting a cat. Ooh, I got to take my glasses off because I'm getting a little steamy. I am not adopting a cat, but it was hilarious. I had parked my car out in the front of my yard overnight because I fired a kiln on Friday night. And I just thought it would
I think that's fine. Just side note. The place where your kiln is also your garage, and you're concerned about like tires melting or something. Like it gets hot, and you're concerned about the destructive forces on your car. That
or starting an explosion. It gets hot. There's a tank of gasoline in their car. You think that's funny?
It's interesting. It seems like
I think it's prudent and smart to get the car out of there when I'm firing a kiln.
It seems like that shouldn't be an issue.
Oh, I don't think that it's literally an issue, to tell you the truth, okay?
You're
that
just
kiln
better
is
safe
fired.
than sorry.
Yeah, and it just freaks me out. And I mean, it just feels like that. These days have been almost 100 degrees. So and there's not good ventilation in the garage. The kiln vents itself, but it vents the hot air right into the garage. I mean, it doesn't get that hot because it's an insulated thing, but we are venting hot air out of there. Yeah, I don't think it's actually a safety concern, but it just seems, rubber and stuff. I moved the inflatable paddleboard out of there because I just thought being this hot will melt all the glue.
Sure.
I think it's legit. I don't have to. Anyway.
Could be.
I parked my car in front of my house that night, which means I have to take everything out of my car that is even remotely of value, like a penny. I have to clean it out.
Yeah, someone will break your windows for that penny.
So then I went and ran errands on Saturday. And I came back, or maybe it was Friday. I don't know the days. Came back. So I entered then through the garage, parked in the garage. I had just fired, it was Saturday, because I had just fired a glaze kiln. And I haven't fired that many glaze kilns yet at this studio. So it's exciting, and it's always a little nerve-wracking for me, and I cannot wait for it to cool down. So anyway, I came out. I opened the door, walked through the garage, past our little sound studio. I'm in my backyard now. And there was this little orange cat. He was a very cute cat. He looked like a cartoon cat. Like if I drew a picture of cat when I was a kid, it would look like this cat. He was like just sort of perfectly sized. He was handsome and he was very chatty. He was
He had all of his fur.
All of his fur. I don't not to
we haven't brought him up in a
not to disparage Whiskers, but it did occur to me that this gentleman had he didn't seem to have any mental issues, but also he was outside.
Mm-hmm.
So he's prowling the street. He did not look like a thug cat. He looked me in the eyeballs and he went meow, 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 meow. He was talking to me, and I was like, well, hey, kitty. And then I thought he was just going to move on. And then he kind of came up and, like, threw himself against my leg in a real cool way, like real cool, like we knew each other. And he wasn't too needy, and he wasn't freaking me out. It was like, hey. And then he just flopped down in front of me, and that's when I turned my phone on. It was like, hey, I guess this cat is my new friend. And then he plopped himself down and went, meow, meow. And so I was compelled to turn off my camera, lean down, pet him a little bit. He just loved it. He just leaned into it as I pet him, like, oh, yeah, right there. Yeah, lady, you got it. He was stretching his little claws out. Oh, he felt so good. And then I talked to him about how, I'm sorry, but I can't have cat hair in my house. You seem very nice. And he went along his merry way.
That's nice.
It was the best kind of friend.
As a result of your conversation, he left?
I don't know. I mean, I just felt that we should have a conversation. And I just said on Instagram, but I don't want a cat, because it felt like that was my cat. And everybody says, you do want a cat, and that cat picked you. And I said, no, that cat understands exactly where I am. I love that. We met for a moment. We shared some space for a while. He understands I can't have cat hair in my house. You can't come in my house and tear up my rug, cat.
Absolutely not.
So I
like the idea of an outdoor cat.
Love that idea, because also I said to him, are you catching mice back here? And if you are, I would love that. I would respect, brother. So anyway, that was my non-cat, but that was funny that you started with that whole thing about the dog, because I have really been saying that a lot lately. A lot of people are telling me I need a dog, and I keep saying the rudest thing ever is, bullet costs 25 cents.
We talked about it off air last time. You told me that people wanted you to get a dog, and I think a dog is insane, because that eats up so much of your available capacity in terms of time, in terms of mental energy, whatever. But I did not consider, because I'm not, even though I have a cat now, I was not raised a cat person. But cats are so easy in comparison to dogs.
Yeah, they are.
You can fill his bowl up like brimming over, and you can leave for 2 days, and he's totally fine.
Not your cat, though. You have to,
well,
please. You were just telling me the machinations to keep that cat. You have to feed him every 20 minutes, grapes and figs.
He's just as fine as he would be if you were there feeding him grapes. I mean, he operates at a certain level of brokenness, and that doesn't change if you leave for 2 days.
Correct. He stays alive, for the love of God. But that's exactly that. He's neurotic and weird and yuck. I don't want an animal.
Well, I think the next step, I mean,
cat hair. Ugh.
Having a cat indoors is a lot less work than a dog. The next step beyond that, the perfect situation, is an outdoor cat.
Yeah.
Because it goes and does whatever it does all day, and you see it once in a while.
Rafiki has the outdoor cat. She feeds it, and she has a little bed for it in the backyard. And I thought that this was that cat, but that cat is more of a big thug cat who wanders around looking like the Godfather. And this was like a young tomcat, sort of like real handsome, real cute. I'm not kidding. He was real chirpy. Okay, one of your classmates or schoolmates who she suggested it was the soul of Mr. Dixon. Which is funny, because it is funny, because he loved...
For reference, Dixon was the pottery teacher at
your high school. And yeah. I like a job shared with him for a year. That's how you and I connected, was in his studio. He's probably... And he died. He died 2 years ago. And he got me back into pottery. I mean, I said that at his funeral, that Chris Dixon was a pain in my ass. I didn't need a friend like that. He got me into pottery, and look what he started. I hadn't touched clay for 15 years, and he went... come on over and help me throw some mugs. And I couldn't stop. I mean, and anyway, so whatever. But Maddie on the Instagram, she said, that's the soul of Mr. Dixon. He loved orange tabby cats. And I went, he sure the heck did. And it was right outside the door to my studio when the glaze kiln was cooling down.
Right, he would just be slinking around a pottery studio.
He would be, and like checking it out. He would probably want to see our recording equipment. He'd be real interested in this studio right here.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, he'd be all up in it. And it was just like, I think that might have been Chris Dixon. And I like the idea of that.
That's funny.
It was funny. Maddie said, it's Mr. Dixon. I know he's visiting you. And then I went, holy cow. And he would just be right there, right? Like kind of almost had to trip over him when I opened the door to get into my own backyard. And also talking a lot. Chirp, chirp, chirp. Mr. Dixon talked a lot. He talked a lot. I think that might have been our boy. All right, there you have it. I had to put my glasses back on. I don't have contacts in because, as we have discussed, the
computers.
They're not great for the computer. They're not great for driving.
It sounds like they're not great. When can you wear these contacts?
Okay. First of all, I went back in for an appointment, and we think that there was something not perfect with the right eyeball contact lens. So we're adjusting. So it's possible that they will become better for driving. Right now, my best bet is to walk around with the reading correction in my left eye and no contact in my right eye because it wasn't correct. So
your glasses are so foggy.
They're so foggy.
I don't know what's going on
sweaty.
Your side of the recording studio.
Middle age is what's going on. Shoot.
You're looking at me like through the window on a steam room or something.
I'm sorry you can even see that. Oh, who cares about my glasses? Whatever. So contacts are great for walking around, gardening, performing, everyday life. And I think if I get the other one right, driving will be okay. It doesn't matter. It's real boring. But I can get the contact in on within 3 tries now.
There you go.
Getting better.
It's a skill. It's you use it and it develops and it's
mystery.
Great. Since we last spoke, I actually went to the eye doctor too for my 3-month, 6-month.
Oh yeah, LASIK.
I don't know how many months. Probably almost 6 months.
I'm guessing 3. Is it really?
I don't know. I don't remember.
You couldn't have done it in February.
I remember when
it's 3 months.
I remember when I got my motorcycle. I don't remember when I got LASIK.
That's real weird. When did you get your motorcycle? What month?
February 28th.
Huh.
Golly,
maybe 6 months.
I don't know. I think it's probably the 3-month checkup on the eyes. But the eye to me is something that's a little bit mystifying. I don't know a whole lot about it. I've basically had contacts since 7th or 8th grade, and you go in every year for your new checkup so you can get a prescription, and nothing's changed much. But I've always loved that machine you put your head in, and it's got a little light, and he pushes it from one side to the other, and he says, look at the side of this, and he looks into your retina, cornea, that he looks into your soul.
Mm-hmm.
I've always wanted one of those machines. I would love to see what an eye looks like through those.
You could probably just ask him. Do you ever ask him, can I look from your point of view?
Would you mind if we swapped positions,
Yeah.
Mr. Optometrist, and I'm going to look in your eyeball? I'm going to see your soul. I'm going to see if all this is really necessary today.
Yeah. Okay, you don't have to phrase it like that. I don't know why you wouldn't ask that. I would ask that.
I wouldn't. That seems like... Well, my eye doctor's he's not stuffy, but he's like a very Ivy League bow tie wearing. I don't know. He's a little too stiff upper lip for me to ask if I can gaze into his soul.
Okay. Right. Sure. But I mean, don't you ask, okay, this is me at the eye doctor, the tech that was helping me. I'm asking her where she went to school and how she learned it. And is she an eye specialist or can she do other, and what, right? Do you ask those kinds of questions about the eye and the thing? And how do you know that? And what does it look like back there? I ask so many questions at the doctor.
I ask a lot of those questions.
It naturally leads to, if you don't get judgy and weird about it, what does it look like when you look at my eyeball in that machine? Because, Andrew, you just said that you want one of those machines. I just think that's a weird goal.
It's probably not something you should keep around the house.
Yeah. But I
can't
think
imagine
that
what Delaney would think.
we could cross it off your bucket list. I just feel like it's a real easy conversation bridge. You go from, what's it like? What does it look like when you look at that? What are you looking for? How do you tell? Can I see? It doesn't have to be his eye. You go, could we get your tech in here? I just want to see what that looks like. Who would deny you that, Andrew?
I don't know. It seems like an uncomfortable ask.
Well, I think it's not, but we have different feelings about that.
Well, whatever checkup this was, I've got one in another year.
Mm-hmm.
Game on.
Okay, yeah.
Hopefully he's got a tech with good-looking eyes.
It doesn't matter if they're good-looking. You just want to see what you really want to see in their soul, but don't say that. You got to massage your way into this. Hey, last episode we talked about how I was leaving for Maui, and I'm not there yet.
No.
We're recording an extra so that next week. I thought about recording. That's right. We thought about recording from Maui, and I'm going to leave my computer. A little scary. But I'm going to leave my computer here and try to unwind because it has been brought up to me mostly via you in the last week also by another person. My friend, she said, Lisa, when you do things that you say you're relaxing, it looks a lot like what other people do when they're not relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
I think I was saying like, no, I'm relaxing today. I'm glazing my pottery or whatever. She's
I'm
like,
updating my website.
I think I was actually changing my bed sheets and, putting new pillowcases on and stuff like that. I'm like, this is relaxing. She's like, when you're doing things that you say you're relaxing, it's like what other people are doing when they're not relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to try to relax on Maui. I don't know, man.
You just showed me some really cool pink flippers that you bought.
That counts as relaxing, right?
Buying
Face
pink
down
flippers?
in the ocean.
I would think so.
Face down in the ocean, just snorkeling. Come on, that's got to be relaxing. It's literally you doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like watching television, which I don't like doing.
Or better.
Well, I think so.
It's a feast for all the senses, not just the eyes and ears.
Feels like it. I bought myself some flipper. Yeah, I got my own mask, snorkel, and flippers and water boots because I've only rented when I go there and or anywhere, and I just thought it would be so cool to have flippers that are comfortable.
Yeah.
And a mask that I can see through. I got for Maui for snorkeling up on mostly on the surface. I got the like sunshade, anti-reflective surface because that bugs me sometimes when I'm there and it's hot and it's the middle of the day and the sun is shining. It's like gets real headachy. So I got all that. Yeah. So anyway, I'm leaving for Maui. I will be on a plane 24 hours from now. And by the time this drops, I'll be back. It is going to be exciting. I'm excited.
And that's important for all of our listeners to know that by the time they know you've left, you'll be home.
OPSEC,
that's right. So, and also don't forget, not only will she be home, but she also has a armory full of sharp implements that she will...
I do have a fixed security system. The last time we recorded a few days ago, my security system, I was vulnerable, but now it is fixed and the tech guy came and he was incensed as I was and he recommends also that, I think I might get he said there's a camera like thing on the alley that when it detects motion, it just sends a little light, flash, and then they look up at it and they get a picture.
Oh, yeah.
So that's good. And I may actually do
that. That is a cool thing.
Yeah, it's a cool feature. I may do it. I mean, I'm just becoming more and more aware of how vulnerable I am, but also I feel tough. I feel good. I've got my taser. But even going to Maui, even going and wandering around alone places, taking lifts and things. I don't know. Probably it's because I listened to some murdery podcasts, but I'm just, I know it will. No, it's not a funk. It puts me in a state of vigilance and just remembering, because, I walk around the world a lot of times assuming that everybody is good and trustworthy. And I'm a little bit naive in that way sometimes. And it's just a reminder to be like, you can still be friendly and make friends with everybody and trust, but you gotta be smart and know that some people might harm you. Sometimes, so right? I mean, stay sexy, but don't get murdered is what they say on the
podcast.
On the podcast, on the what is it? My favorite murder podcast. But I've been listening to other sort of anyway, doesn't matter. For real. That's why I have a taser and a brain, Andrew, to keep myself smart and get myself out of places when I need to. Well, hey, let me tell you one thing, can I? Because I sent you a poem.
Yeah, tell me about your poem. You got to read the whole thing, though.
No.
It's short enough.
It's not short enough.
It is.
Nope. I'm going to put it in show notes. People can go look it up. That's too long to read out loud. It's a Mary Oliver poem called The Summer Day. The reason I sent it to you is because there is one part of the poem that goes. The beginning of the poem, who made the world? Who made the swan and the black bear? Who made the grasshopper? This grasshopper, I mean. And I was looking at a grasshopper because the grasshoppers have come to Denver. It's that time of year. And I was looking at this grasshopper and taking a picture of this one grasshopper. It was just like hanging out on the side of my garage. Mm-hmm. And when you get an up-close view of a grasshopper, it was just fascinating.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah. A lot going on there. And I was just taking cool up-close video and marveling at the shape of it and the way it looks like it kind of has hands and the way it moves. And it reminded me of this Mary Oliver poem. I heard Mary Oliver speak back in my college days. I think she recently died. She's a beautiful American poet. Anyway, this is a poem that people should go check out called The Summer Day. This grasshopper reminded me of it. And the last line of the poem, the last two lines, so it's a couplet, I suppose. Tell me, what is it you plan to do with your one wild and precious life? So that is that's on note cards around the world. You know what I mean? That's a pretty cool line. But that little grasshopper reminded me of that. And I thought, that's what I'm going to Maui to try to discern, and I'm going to take that little thought with me, thanks to the grasshopper, what I am trying to discern while I'm on Maui. So I do need some downtime to think and not churn. What is it that I plan to do with my one wild and precious life? That's what I'm doing.
It's a good thought.
It's a good thought. And we should all think that.
Sounds like
thought.
That sounds like a mantra. That sounds like you've been hanging out with your witch doctor again.
Well, and I mean, I told you I'm going to read that parachute book. What color is your parachute? I mean, this is like I'm on this quest to go, what is it that you want to be when you grow up kind of thing. And that has always spoken to me more. That line right there of Mary Oliver, the poet, has always spoken more clearly to me than, a book like that, a self-help book that's sold millions of copies. But it's the same question.
Mm-hmm. It's totally the same.
And I shall go to Maui, which is a wild and precious place, and it's going to be good. It's that place is beautiful to me, and I think it will be. I need to go and relax. I mean, for real. And we talked about it last week, and earlier this week, you pointing out to me that I often seem like I'm late or running late, even when I'm not. Oh shoot, I've thought about that a lot this week. Like, oh my God, I really am always putting out that energy to people. I'm sorry. I'll try to be more chill.
Now you're just stressing yourself out more, thinking about what kind of energy am I putting out.
No, I actually think, kind of, but no, you know what I think? I think it's that I'm burning a little bit hot. And I think from time to time in my life, I get that way, and I'm kind of running hot, and I do need to take a step back, do something, acknowledge it. And sometimes I need people like you. Sometimes, I've told you, Kim Dreiling would say, wheeze, whoa, hey, going real fast. I have time to listen to you. Oh, and then I go, I'm going real fast, right? So I think that's right. But the funny thing about it is that I have thought for these weeks that what I'm doing is relaxing and being on vacation, and I'm still real hot. And so I think it's like a lot of things are just pointing to, don't stress out about it, but time to take a breath and take some chill and cool down. And also, I think it's seasonal for me, and I remember my yoga instructor saying that to me. I'll bet that I started seeing her, that yoga therapist, about this time of year, end of July, I will bet you. And I remember her saying, it is not unusual that you would end up here. I'm a hot person. I mean, we've talked about this. It really is. I mean, I got a little bit of heat rash going on here and everything. I mean, I think I am hot physically, metaphorically, spiritually. And it's a funny thing to go to Maui where it's not going to be super cool. But you know what? There will be ocean. Lots of waterfalls, should I choose to do that. Comedy, which doesn't cool me down, I don't suppose. But only one night of comedy, I can do that. And more snorkeling and more turtles. Turtles. I'm going to watch those turtles because they know how to chill.
I'm super jealous of your trip, and I think you're going to have a great time.
Great. All right, we'll talk about it when I get back, just to let everybody know. While this is maybe even coming out, I'm either in Maui trying to learn how to take a chill pill. We'll see how it goes. We'll see if I can do it. Do you want to talk about collaboration or anything else?
We've put it off for so long.
So long.
It's time to just...
It's the non-topic that we're never talking about.
It's time to just do it. I think the reason I've been so hesitant to talk about collaboration this entire time is because I feel like I'm bad at it. And you razz me all the time about not looking at the Slack and not checking my email and not, probably being a bad collaborator in general.
You didn't like group work in school.
And I am a bad collaborator in general. It's not my favorite thing. And I think that this is an unpopular opinion to every professor I've ever had who swears by group work, but I'm much more productive by myself than I am in a group.
Right.
And I think for you and me, in this podcast, it's just you and me, and Jonah, he edits it and everything, but he's kind of his own standalone unit in Chicago. I think the collaboration part is something where I fall short on, and I feel bad about it. It seems to work itself out okay, but it's not, I don't know. I suppose I'm not the easiest person to work with.
That's funny because the reason I have had it on my list of topics for so long is because at a certain point while you've been freelancing, you missed working with other people.
I did.
That was the first reason, the idea of collaborating. So let's unpack that. Okay, so can you take us back to that moment? Can you remember back to that? Like going, I miss collaborating a little bit.
Yeah, I can. So in these few short months that I've been freelancing, I've gone through waves where initially when I left my job, I was so excited to get out of the open work environment where everyone spouts off everything that comes into their head as it comes into their head, and it's impossible to collect your thoughts and sit down and have a 15 minutes of coding without being interrupted. So I was eager to move back into the home office, which is basically the one room of my one-room apartment, and really get some stuff done. And I did get some stuff done. I built a really cool prototype for a client, and it's been great. I've been more productive on my own than I've ever been before. But I don't know, probably a couple months in, I started missing just having someone to bounce something off of or someone to be around. Like, you wake up and sit at your desk in your underwear for the third day in the row, and you haven't talked to anyone other than the cat and Delaney, and it just feels a little
untethered.
Untethered. The world feels small. It feels uncomfortably small.
When I get like that, I feel unconnected from people, and I sort of feel like I'm floating, and I need to be anchored by the real world.
So I operated in that mode for a little while, where I felt like by going out on my own, I'd made my world much smaller.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got this new client where, I was talking about it on the last podcast, where we've got 3 meetings a day, and every single one of them seems inconsequential. And I'm kind of back in the mode where I'm like, God, this collaboration sucks.
Sick of people. Yeah.
So it's like a sine wave or whatever, where it's got its ups and downs, and they're probably regular, just like a sine wave.
Mm-hmm.
But in general, like if there's something to be done and I know what I need to do, I think I can generally always get it done better and faster without the inconvenience of help.
Mm-hmm. Other people, right. This is such a big thing. Okay, so unpacking that from your point of view. So really, when you were saying maybe you missed working with other people, it was you maybe missed the just company and other just being, there's something about completely hermiting that can make you feel, in my mind, untethered, in your mind, too small, too insular or something.
Mm-hmm.
So your problem, if you have it, could be solved by working at a coffee shop or working at a WeWork space where you just want people to talk to at the water cooler and make a joke,
or even just filling up my weeknights with seeing friends,
people. Okay,
yeah.
So I was going to ask that: how often do you know that you have known the idea of getting somebody's input and bouncing an idea off of somebody, and that being valuable to you in the process of making something, or not usually to you? You trust yourself more than you can trust others' input.
Mostly. It depends what I'm working on. There's certainly, for one of my projects, we just hired a design firm, and I've got, in terms of design, I know what looks okay to me. Mm-hmm. Like I know when something's wrong, but I couldn't create something from scratch that looks good.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a moment where I know I'm out of my depths, and I know that it helps, and it does. Their contribution to this whole thing makes the product better as a whole. But in my mind, I kind of segregated. I say, here's my job, that's their job. So there's certain things that are outside of my domain that I absolutely need help with. Period. That I need
with people. Which I need help.
Yep, that's what I meant.
And so you're happy you can outsource that and understand it. Like, I need this done. Here's a discrete thing I need done. I'm going to hire the best for it, and then it's done. The design is done. Great.
And it's very much a situation where I'm the expert in my domain, they're the expert in their domain, and I do my best not to tell them how things should be or what they should look like, because I acknowledge that they are, they outrank me in this arena, and they're gonna hopefully produce something better than I could. So in that way, I also shy away from collaboration in advice giving. I don't want you to give me advice a lot of the time, and I also, if that's your thing, I'm not going to give you advice either.
I'm pretending now that we're dissecting the question, is Andrew a good or bad collaborator? Okay, just to let you know, that's the tack I'm taking here, because I suspect that you're a good collaborator, but that means something different than we think. Okay, so I have some questions for you.
Okay, hit me.
Did you ever play in a band of any kind?
Never played in a band.
Did you ever sing in a choir?
Team sports. I played lacrosse.
That's not what I'm asking. I'm going to unpack that. I'm
getting
there. I'm getting there. Handbell choir.
Nope.
School play.
Nope.
Anything, no school play, no pageant, no Christmas
No.
pageant where you had lines and somebody else has headlines and you had to do a thing
Uh-uh.
and your parents came. Are you kidding me?
I mean, I sang in the thing with everyone else in the class,
Yeah.
the annual show or whatever.
Well, that kind of counts. You never did a school play. That's very sad. You never went to a play.
We also didn't have, like in my grade school, middle school, we didn't have school plays. And then in high school, I wasn't in theater.
No, I know. Okay, now we're getting there. Team sports, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Since you were little?
Yep, always. The other kind of team thing, I was in student government in grade school.
In grade school.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you were just the leader.
That's right.
You were just the bossy one. In grade school, they let you have full reign of,
I just told people how it was.
Yeah. Okay, team sports. Tell me about your team sports experience and how that rings to you about what you learned about collaboration. Anything?
Yeah, I'm sure I learned a lot more than I can vocalize right now. I think the thing I felt in team sports was pressure, in that these people are relying on you to do your part and to not drop that ball or go get the ball, or there was this you're accountable not just to yourself but all the people who have thrown in their lot with you.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I got something out of that.
Did you care about winning?
Not really.
That's what I figured.
Not really.
No.
I was always surprised. And like Delaney and I talked about football fans last night because we just saw a football game on. It's got to be a preseason something. Or maybe it's a rerun.
Weird. I saw a bunch of Broncos fans screaming in a bar like last week. What is going on?
And we both said to each other, we've always wanted to be football fans.
Oh, have you?
But we've never, we can't stand watching
Can't make
sports.
yourself care about it. I know. Now, I know. I never wanted to be a football fan. Whew.
Don't they seem like they've really got, I mean.
They seem like they got a tribe and they're having fun.
The community of it,
They care a lot about something, right? No, we were at a bar doing comedy, right? And there were, I see what, I mean, well, they seem loud to me, but
they do seem loud and obnoxious, and I'll never get over the fact that their happiness relies on someone else's success or failure.
It's weird,
but it's another thing you can connect with. Another
it's
level.
It's a subculture, and you're always fascinated in those. You're fascinated in subcultures of every kind.
That's right.
That's one of them. Okay, your experience of team sports. Did you enjoy just like the friends and hanging out on the bench with the guys, and that was a fun part of it, and having the popsicles afterwards? That was fun.
I love goofing around, and I actually. I played JV lacrosse for 3 years.
Yeah.
Like the everything going on around lacrosse, all the goofing off and jokes on the sidelines and whatever. That was my favorite part.
Yeah. So it's just like what you desire of an office culture right now is the hang, not so much the actual collaboration. The collaboration in team sports as a teenager made you feel stressed out. Like, oh God, now they're relying on me for something that I don't really care about. Don't you think?
Sure.
If you had cared a lot about winning, that pressure, that would not have felt so much like pressure. It would have felt more like what I'm talking about, collaboration, what I'm getting to. But, right, I think because you didn't really care if you want to lose, it just felt like pressure to you, like, oh, God, they're going to yell at me if I drop that ball. Shoot.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. So that's telling us that you like company,
right?
But maybe not collaboration so much. I got to tell you something, what I think that you do. When this winter we were doing this podcast, you started this by saying that you feel like a bad collaborator on this podcast, and you are. In terms of that, in terms of like, I've sent you some stuff and keep up on it and here's your homework. If I ask you to do something, you generally do, and you often send me something to do homework on. So whatever. But that felt like such collaboration planning this show. And it felt like collaboration for years, Andrew. We talked a lot about it. We talked a lot about what do we want it to be? Who's our audience? Who are we? That felt like real collaboration to me, putting it together. And then here's what I think. I think that every conversation here and whatever it is that we're pulling out, and sometimes you guide it and really kind of push it in a direction that I don't. In this conversation, you're so collaborative. You're a good listener. We're collaborative. We're good conversation partners, right? We throw stuff out. That, to me, is what I mean by actual collaboration, is the joy of making something with somebody. And what you got to earlier is getting close to what I think is one of the genius level requirements for real creative collaboration is understanding everybody stays in their lane. Hiring a designer to do design and knowing I'm not going to nitpick your process or your whatever. I'm hiring you because you're a designer. You tell me. I mean, you're going to give me 3 examples. I get to pick. I get to be the decider, whatever. I've told you what I want for whatever X product is, but I'm going to trust you to design.
Right.
And I'm going to trust me to do this part. That is a huge part of making something, a creative process come together, is knowing that everybody has a part to play and must play that part.
And
nobody can drop the ball.
And you shouldn't interfere with them playing their part.
That's right. And in fact, what you should do, if you think about it in terms of team sports, you should in fact encourage them, right? I mean, that's a huge part of team sports for kids, is we're teaching them sportsmanship and how to encourage other people, even if their skills are developing or whatever. You know, I mean, seriously, give them the optimal conditions to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
So all of that. When we have been talking about the idea, what was that? Was that me? Grr! Why? I thought
I like that this has become a bit on our show.
It is so annoying to me. Okay, back in the theater days, there were tech people used to say, there was like a joke about they wanted a true blackout in the theater, like when you go to black for some dramatic moment before the show or in the middle of the show, and there's always a damn exit sign. There's always a freaking exit sign somewhere, and the light person would just be like, I want a real blackout. I want a real show with no freaking notifications when I think I've turned everything off. I feel like a spaz.
I have to tell you, we're doing a little bit better today, and I think it's because it's a Sunday morning.
Better at what?
Not having notifications.
Yeah, because nobody's bothering.
Nobody who I work for is texting me at 9 a.m. on a Sunday. No, hopefully.
They're house of worship, like good people. We're heathens making a podcast because it's so hot at another time of day. We worship it. Okay, but one of the things that I thought about it when you were starting to talk about this, like missing other people, because I very much have realized at certain points in my life when I am missing that actual collaboration. I thrive on it. And I mean collaborating and being in the creative process with other human beings. Nothing makes me feel more fulfilled. I've talked to you lately, going out to comedy, the fact that I can stand out there and go, you guys, what's the funniest container? Hey, is this line funnier here or there? Mm-hmm. Is it funnier to say that dogs get away with murder or that dogs really piss me off? Which of those is funnier? And people are like, here it is. When I'm about to do my roast battle, there's a guy helping me, like coaching me, like, you can do it. Look at that guy. Here's what you can think of. And I felt like we made something together. Mm-hmm. That is one of the most exquisitely wonderful feelings in my life. And from time to time, I have missed it. Like when I am freelancing, I remember watching Saving Mr. Banks.
Yeah.
Because that movie to me was all about that. It was about the creative process and reminded me back in my theater school days of my friend Kevin and I writing musicals and putting on plays. Boy, there's a joy in that. And that comedy is filling that for me now. And different things fill it. But one of the places that I think I first learned it, certainly the theater is where I learned it the most, but that was more as an adult. It was playing in bands as a kid. And I mean, starting in recorder music class, we took the optional recorder thing, and then it was, sort of learn it that way. And then I played trombone in middle school and high school band.
God, you must look funny with a trombone.
Hilarious. It was as big as me, as big as I am.
What my note card on band, I had, my cousins did band. And my uncle once told me, he said, man, if you want to work hard, go out for band. Those people are always out there marching on the blacktop in the summer heat.
Before school, marching band. And it was that was an interesting thing. Marching band, jazz band, all of it. Our orchestra. I think about that, what I learned as a child, and then through those formative years, middle school and high school. I was not a good musician. I am not a good musician. I have no affinity for it. I didn't work terribly hard at learning my scales. Part of it is that when you're a trombone player, you don't have to. There are 100 clarinet players and, a couple of trombone players. So any kind of getting into an upper band or...
They're like, you play trombone? We need one of those.
For real. I mean, I got into all county jazz band, and I don't know my scales. Part of that, a flute player or a clarinetist or a saxophone player for all county jazz band would have to go in and demonstrate such mastery of scales and music theory and really show off. You just
had to have a trombone.
For real. Almost true.
That's a good pro tip. If you want to send your kid to college, don't have him take up guitar. Give him a trombone.
I remember somebody actually who did that. Who was it along the way that we knew that the parents made them take cello instead of violin because there were more sure. I think it was a person who became a cellist. Anyway, okay. So again, this is coming from the perspective of not a good musician, but somebody who had to learn. And let's also talk about the instrument I played. Very rarely did I have the melody. Trombone players do a lot of, especially in orchestra and marching band, they do a lot of bump, 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 bump. Really. It's a brass instrument. We got our big moments, but I'm not kidding. There's a lot of rhythm and there's a lot of, and I played bass trombone, which is even more, you're doing a lot of rhythm, you're doing a lot of background, you're very rarely carrying the melody, which I also thought was awesome. Because like you in sports, I felt like a little bit of pressure because if I screw up, everybody's going to be mad. But it also, it taught you how to keep your place. It taught you how to rest.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes trombone players have 32 bars of rest in an orchestral piece. No kidding.
You really had to keep your count in order, huh?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And you had to rely on the other people in your section. Like, where are we? Is that 16 bars? Are you kidding me? I mean, you have it. But the other thing is you also know you have a conductor up there to look at who's going to remind you and cue you to come in like, hey, Bones, here we go. Right? And I mean, that whole thing, learning your little part, learning that, okay, if you were a clarinetist or a flautist and somebody, a good musician who is carrying the melody most of the time, or a violinist, also learning if you're playing in a section like that, you may be home practicing the, quote, melody, but you're learning a harmony to it. So you can't sing it. I mean, just learning and trusting. If you ever learn a harmony part to a melody, if you learn the secondary part or third part, it's weird because out of context, it sounds so weird. It's not the tune that you hear, but then you sing along with someone who's singing the melody. Oh my God. And you make that beautiful thing. Mm-hmm. Learning how to keep time, learning how to work in collaboration. In a jazz band, we used to take clinics, and I remember they would say that the drummer and the bass player need to be married to each other. And so, that would develop right there in high school, like a very deep friendship with the bass player and the drummer. And then, I mean, which some of those kids would take off and play in garage bands and rock and roll bands and stuff. But I'm talking more about like formal, schooled music instruction. You learn to stay in your lane. You learn that your part is maybe small, but super important, and you got to do your part right. And you learn to trust, like I said, you look up in the conductor, thank you for reminding me that it's time to come in. Or you look over at your section mate and they're like, we're right here, thank you. Then I took that into the theater where even more so, people think that actors are, look at me, show-offy, selfish. I don't think that. I think most actors are, you have to be so good at giving and listening and staying in your lane. And when you drop a line on stage, when you go up, you look over at somebody who saves you, who reminds you where you are just because you're making eye contact and they're present and you went up for some reason. It feels like they saved your life. I mean, they didn't, at the end of it. Like, it was just a play in front of people. Who cares? Anything could have happened, and who cares? I could have just yelled line. I could have fallen dead on the floor. Who cares? The stakes couldn't be lower. But it's not how it feels when you're performing. Mm-hmm. It feels literally like in the trenches, and when somebody comes in to your rescue or helps you make a thing, it feels like life or death. So that's the progression for me from like band through theater to everything. And collaborating to me, that is so fun when you each have a little part to play. And then you make something big and complex together. Do you have a feeling of that?
Yeah, I do have a feeling of that. I like so in this job where we have all the meetings, I'm responsible for a very specific part of it. And it's the database side. So in any application or any kind of software-y thing, there's unique components. And when people talk about the back end of software, they're talking about the database. Where's the data stored? Mm-hmm. And they're talking about the processes that serve it up. So how does the data get from where it's stored on the database to the web page you're seeing on your computer screen?
Right.
So I'm responsible for the back end of this project. And there's people working on the front end. There's people working on, we've got a whole team of people cleaning and cleansing data. Mm-hmm. I think more than 20, but fewer than 100. Like, there's a lot of people working on this project, and I get inputs from them, and I send data to them, and it's very. You can see how every link in the chain matters in this process, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And you can see that without any one of them, everything would fall apart and nothing would work. So I do see that, and there's a little bit of satisfaction in it. But good Lord, it is so frustrating when the success of a project relies on so many people other than yourself. For me, I guess I'm a control freak, right? Mm-hmm. I like to be in control of the success or failure of anything, which is why I've really enjoyed the transition to freelancing. My pay and my happiness are commensurate with the amount of work I put in, and I'm in control of my destiny.
I know, and I am of kind of two minds about that because, right, I love that. I mean, I love that, and I'm enjoying that part of my work right now, like even voiceover work. Boy, I love that because they call me up and they go, "You're the expert. You do it." They think I'm a genius, and they trust me to do my thing. They give their feedback. Could you do it this much? Could you put more 5% more smile in your voice? It's a little. And I go, "Yeah, good." And then everybody's happy, and they take their thing, and I get a nice paycheck. And yeah, that was really just me doing my thing, and then that was not really collaborative. I know, and it's a funny thing because I was thinking about that too. Like I have a friend who owns a small business and has a hard time getting help that is as quality as they need. But it's because really what they need to do is clone themselves. The two business owners, really what they're like too big and they need some help, but you can't trust anybody else to do this for you. And I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, yeah, maybe I suspect that you will someday be a very good manager because actually I'll bet you're very good at it, Andrew. I will bet that you are good at communicating clearly, letting people stay in their lanes, appreciating that, because that is to me where it gets wonky in a workplace is like when it's not a good collaborative atmosphere. Yuck. When it's a good collaborative atmosphere, I find it fun, and I would find the thing that you just described, I would find it more fun to make something that requires more than 20 but fewer than 100 people cleaning and vetting that data and then building something bigger than you could personally do yourself. That's like multiplying yourself into the world, and to me that's always satisfying. But maybe it's really not for you. Like, no, I like what I can get done myself.
I've actually taken. I mean, this has been with me for a long time. I tell everyone that the reason I studied finance at school and the reason I'm in software now is because it's very easy to scale it with one person.
Yeah.
One person can manage billions of dollars, and that's what I thought I was going to do out of college. I was going to go be an investment guy, and I was going to, research all these opportunities and figure out which one's the best, and I was going to multiply people's money. And that doesn't really require a large staff. It's something that you can do by yourself or with a buddy, And then the other thing, software, you've got Mark Zuckerberg who put together Facebook, and he's in a totally different position now. Now that organization has hundreds of thousands of employees. Our buddy Marco Arment started Tumblr. That was his thing. It got bought by Yahoo, and then Yahoo got bought by Verizon. I've always been attracted to the jobs and the tasks that can be a single person endeavor.
Yeah, that's funny. And that may just be a fundamental difference because I think I am not. I think I am fundamentally drawn to things like theater, as frustrating and fraught as it can be. That's also interesting to me that, right, I'm giving you examples from the creative world that I do think apply. If you are running a project, you should treat it like an orchestra. Right?
Sure.
You should give the trombone players their music and tell them their job, and then you should cue them when it's time to come in and help them play the music as best they can, and then trust that all the little parts are going to come together in an orchestrated way if you're project managing something. I think that's legit taking it to a professional environment. I think what we learn from creative processes like theater and music apply to the office and the workflow.
Everything you've said makes so much sense to me, and it makes me wish I had been in band.
I know, right? And I think, well, gosh, maybe that's a hot take. Maybe I should write a book about that for a workplace productivity thing. Here's
at least a blog post.
Sheesh, at least a blog post. Anyway, okay, but that's interesting because now writing a book, doing voiceover stuff, being an announcer. I mean, this is all pretty. I like those independent things too, but the book to me. See, I think that when I am feeling, okay, I relate so much to your idea of like, listen, just give it to me. I can do this myself. Believe me, I do not like group projects in school any more than you do. I hated giving them as a teacher, except I understood why. I understood what we were doing. We know how imperfect the process is, but sorry, part of that is to make you learn how to collaborate. And part of it, you learn, I hate it. Yep. But I was just like you. I mean, truly, I always just give it to me. Just give it to me. I'll make it better, faster, louder, faster, funnier. Give it to me. I'll fix it. I'll just do it myself. So it's not like I'm just God's gift to delegating. It's been hard for me to learn over the years. I've learned it more and more, partly by recognizing I don't mind it when I am given only a small part to play in a thing. So if I delegate this task to a person, part of me always felt like it was demeaning. Like, could you, whatever,
Right,
for a pride, right? Could you lick these envelopes? Could you do the grunt work? And going, this is fine. I'll do grunt work for somebody else's project.
I think, riffing on that, I think that I struggle when there's a uncertainty about who's in charge.
Mm-hmm.
I can just as easily be the grunt as I can be the taskmaster. Well,
Interesting.
I'm not a good taskmaster. I do everything on my own. But I also don't mind taking orders from someone else. If there's a clear, they're in charge and I'm the worker, that's great. Things really get awful for me when there's a fuzziness.
You know what? That's a good point. And that is a question. That's an interview question. We could help some people right here. That's a kind of question like, how do you function as a leader versus a follower? Okay. I mean, they're not going to ask you like that. Or how do you function? And there is a sort of certain thing that you kind of want to say, I'm flexible. I can do both, right? I can be a visionary when you need me to, but I can be a put my head down and do the grunt work person. I'm a team player, but that's a nice way to say it. I can play many roles on a project. I can play many roles on a team. It is best for me and for everybody when the roles are clear and when there is somebody in charge and we know who's running the ship. That's right. That's a really important thing. If you had an orchestra playing and everybody's just playing their parts, and I guess there was a metronome clicking time, but you didn't have that conductor and you had a 100-piece orchestra, it's going to be chaotic. The coxswain has to sit at the front of the boat and steer it.
Stroke.
Yep. Right. I mean, I think, that's a good point that there needs to be a manager. I think you can do that as you will need to in your life, step into playing that role. Andrew, you'll be good at it. You just need to remember what's about.
Something no one ever told me about leadership is when I think of leadership, I think of delegating and telling people what to do. Uh-huh. You don't think about being a leader. From what I've seen, the good leaders, a lot of their job is super shitty. It's minutia, making sure that so-and-so is where they ought to be in the project at this point. It's a lot of checking up and just, do you have everything you need? Can I get you everything you need? It's a lot of, the leader is the person who ought to go and get the coffee when you're right in the middle of a dead sprint.
Isn't that something?
And
isn't that something? And I have spoken to so many young people who go, I entered college thinking that leadership was, like being the boss. Like it was in, as we said earlier, grade school, student council, right? Like that's just the leader. Yeah, make it happen. I'm the boss. And then learning how much of leadership is service. Sorry to be Catholic school about it, but that's a true story.
It is a true story. And in software in particular, you've got productive resources. You've got developers, and they cost a certain dollar amount per hour. And a lot of the leader's responsibility is to do the boring stuff so that they can spend their expensive hours working on building the things.
Correct.
And that's something that no one seemed to tell me, or maybe I just didn't hear it,
Interesting. I thought maybe in business school they would have talked about it more than we would have talked about it in English class, which certainly we didn't. I know, and you know what? You think about it. People are people, and people are difficult. And I mean, I think your instinct to go, gosh, as little as I have to do of that, the better for myself. That tracks for you and me. But when by necessity, because it will happen in life that you have to deal with other people. I mean, it's also interesting to me, think about it, how I feel as an employee in a collaborative environment versus a non-collaborative environment. What I hear people saying about workplaces that are awesome is things like, my boss asked me how he can help me get better. My boss came to me and said, how's it going here? Is there anything that we can do for you? Can we help you develop in this way? That kind of thing. I just think, yes, managing people is managing people, not managing a project.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And that's an interesting thing. And right, serving them because hopefully you've hired the best. Hopefully you've hired somebody and you can trust them to do their work. You're going to have to vet it. You're the boss. You got to make it, whatever. It's your name going out on it, right? I'm going to see the final red pen edit of my book, but I am going to give it to some other people for their help along the way. And that's, whatever. And I'm going to stroke their ego because I need them to do a good job. I'm going to make sure they have coffee, make sure they get enough sleep, whatever it is for my team, right? Same with the theater, back to how I understand these processes in creative ways. Actors' equity is a really important part of the professional theater in this country because there are rules about when you must break. when you must drink water, and how many hours a day you can rehearse, because that kind of creative process can get real stressful toward the end. And there's asses in the seats on a certain day, right? And there are rules and laws about how many hours a day you are allowed to work. And those hours increase right before production begins. You can have a 10 out of 12 day, but that's 10 hours out of the 12, 2 hours of break in between. Because you have to take care of your
Yourself.
resources. And your resources are those human beings. I mean, it's kind of a good example. A singer or an actor, you push them Judy Garland style so hard and just up them and drug them and da-da-da. You're not going to get a great performance and things are going to suffer. You have to protect your human capital. And same is true in software development. That's why all of those cool places like Google, where they have lunches and ballrooms and stuff, right? That's part of the millennial work culture. It's supposed to be that, right? Is it true?
I think it's worse than it is good. So the people criticize Google and Twitter and Facebook. They build these cool offices. They provide breakfast, lunch, and dinner with the implication that you should probably be here for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Got it. So it's the opposite of 10 out of 12. It's the opposite of fewer hours a day, like limited hours. It's you need to be here all the time. This is your life and your family.
No one says you need to be here, but there's that implication. Why would you go anywhere else for dinner? It's right here and it's excellent.
I've also worked with offices full of young people who are working on creative kind of projects, even if it is software development. And there is a real, they do everything together.
Yeah.
They go out after work together. They go on hikes together. That's their whole...
I've seen that, and that's generally not my MO. I like it. Just like George Costanza, I like a clear separation between work friendships and outside of work friendships.
You really do. I don't care about the separation. I just want to make sure I have more than one option.
Yeah, sure.
That's how I feel. I got to have my peeps. I just took 4 nights off of comedy, Andrew, and I hung out with peeps from other walks of my life, and that's very nice.
It is
Sometimes
nice.
It's healthy to do that, don't you think?
Absolutely. You're prepping for your big Maui debut.
Yeah, I think that I still don't know, Andrew. I don't know. So maybe you don't like collaboration that much. Do you feel like this podcast? Okay, you said you were back to that. You said you thought you were a bad collaborator of this podcast. Do you think that you are collaborative here, sitting here, making a creative conversation together?
While we're sitting here actually recording, I think the collaboration is as good as you could hope for. Right? Do
you enjoy it?
I do.
Or do you wish you were making this podcast all by yourself because you could make it better?
Not even a little bit.
I know.
That's a different podcast.
I know. What do you think it would be called?
Dull Moments with Andrew.
Andrew sets you straight on a bunch of stuff. Right? But that's my point, right? You didn't, seriously, I understand that process too. And sometimes I feel like that, God, Andrew, I'll just do it myself with this podcast. But that's not because I don't trust you. It's because you don't feel like doing it. But you would agree then that this is a collaborative thing we do.
This is a collaborative thing we do. And there's different moments of collaboration. The recording is different than the prep, which there on my end, there's very little prep.
But like I said, we have had many, many planny conversations about it over, honestly, years. And then earlier in the podcast, we talked about it much more before we decided that this is it, and we would just go. And now we don't have to talk so much about it. But sometimes we do, and sometimes those conversations are always collaborative.
Yeah,
when we talk about which direction we should take something and whatever.
I've noticed in the last, say, 4 episodes of our podcast, it's been a lot more fun for me. It's been, I think, more interesting to listen to. I don't know if you feel the same way, but I'm
bored of it. I'm so sick of it.
I've enjoyed it, and I'm interested to know other people's feedback. So if they want to write us, they can.
I wonder
reach
why
out
it got
to
more
us.
fun for you, because we thought about it a little bit. We got more conscious about what we would talk about in advance. You were feeling a little bit wonky about it. Yeah, I
think it's been better. Do you think it's been more fun to listen to?
No, I don't know. Depends on when.
That's one thing I love about this collaboration is whenever I think something's good, you hate it, and whenever you think something's good, I don't care for it either.
It's kind of true. Well, I think that the difference is you tend to hate episodes where you talk a lot.
Sure.
And I tend to feel like an idiot when I talk a lot. But yeah, they're good. I
don't know. If anyone cares to share their feedback, they can write us at HMA. That's H as in half, M as in my, A as in age. HMA at Slova, SLOV as in Valerie .app, APP. HMA at Slova.app.
But there's an A after Valerie. Slova, S as in Sam, L as in lemur.
I didn't. I'm concerned about the Spanish listeners who pronounce their B's and their V's very similarly.
I see. So Valerie was the only one you called out. But then I think you didn't say the other A. It doesn't matter. Slova.app. You get it. Alpha Papa. You got it. And whether or not, and you know what else? Tell us, what do you think about collaboration? I wonder if maybe there's a spectrum and people, maybe I'll find out when I color my parachute in Maui that I am a collaborator or not. Because I also want to say, as much as I like going out, having my squad, seeing my people, I am so filled by other people all the time. As I have unpacked what my life is like now that I am single, now that I am 50, now that I am not employed, I just am watching myself. Like, right, what is my natural schedule? What do I naturally want to do and where do I spend my time? Mm-hmm. As we have been discussing, I need about 4 hours of alone time every day. And if I don't get it, I come home and take it late at night. Mm-hmm. If I'm around too many people, I've noticed that about myself. I'm around people all day or whatever, and I come home and it's bedtime, I will not quite go to sleep or let myself go to sleep until it appears to be about 4 hours of alone time has been spent. Huh.
That's interesting.
I like it. I think it's a good thing to learn about myself.
Absolutely.
So that's it. I don't know. Anyway, so what do people think about collaboration? Is it interesting or not? I don't know. I like I like making stuff. You like making stuff.
Sure do.
This is a thing we make together. You're probably also a very good collaborator, like in your relationship.
I suspect that collaboration is something, though I detest it, it's something that's going to be a massive part of my life, and I'm going to have to get good at it or be miserable.
I do too, especially as you raise a family and stuff. I bet you're good at it. We can go talk to Delaney about that because she's inside at the dollhouse, staying cool, I hope.
That's right.
Because you guys are going off to a picnic.
A picnic, yep.
So you're so cute, and that's so domestically cute of you. All right, well, got anything else?
No, I had a great time. It's nice to see you, Mrs. Filholm.
It feels ruckusy.
It feels real ruckusy. And you're about to go have 5 days of ruckus in Maui?
Like 8.
I hope you have an excellent trip.
Thanks. See you next time. Bye, Andrew.
Bye, Mrs. Filholm.
Call it art.